Mr. Abramovich, you represent nearly 100 million reasons why we need robust protections from the epidemic of robocalls and robotext afflicting the nation. You and the companies you control are alleged to have made almost 100 million spoofed robocalls where you configured the calls in such a manner that the caller ID suggested that the calls were local calls. And that's what the Telephone Consumer Protection Act of 1991 is designed to stop. I am the author of that law, which you are charged with violating. And I support the actions which the Federal Communications Commission has taken to enforce my law. The efficiency and the magnitude of your robocall campaign is truly historic, and you were able to become the kingpin of robocalls because these technologies are so readily available and easily usable. In your testimony, you stated that many of the calls you orchestrated were only for a short duration. But that misses the point, Mr. Abramovich. The interruption to consumers comes the moment the phone starts to ring, whether it's during dinner or it's at a time when you're on the go. That's what the problem is. It might only last a minute, but it's a minute that is completely disturbing the receiver of the call. Do you agree with that, Mr. Abramovich?
In a general context, I agree to that. I'm not talking about specific on my case, but I receive 4 or 5 robocalls a day from my local number lately. More after the FCC headlines, I've been receiving more spoof calls than ever, myself.
And you don't like it when you get those calls?
I just declined the call. I never answer the phone.
But do you understand why it irritates people? Do you understand why they don't want these unwanted calls, Mr. Abramovich?
Yes, I understand.
Well, that's what this is all about. That's what the intent of the law is meant to achieve. It's to protect people at home, to protect people in their own privacy from having unwanted calls from coming in. And your understanding of that is obviously key, and your business model was obviously meant to circumvent that sense of protection which people want. So how easy would it be, Mr. Abramovich, for me to go back to my office, download automated phone call technologies, and begin calling thousands of consumers with spoofed numbers? How hard would that be?
How easy?
Or how easy?
Okay, I understand that you, Senator, asked how easy it was. You can find, there's several options on the internet. For example, you have a software that is open source. It's totally customizable to your needs. All you can do is Google and try, for example, on the Google, just type voice over IP providers, short duration calls. And it will pop up probably 5, 6, 7, and most of them are US-based.
How many people would I have to employ if I wanted to make, say, 10,000 robocalls a day?
On the system side?
Yeah.
I would say, from a general knowledge that I have, I would say one.
One person?
One, and probably some technical support.
And how would consumers stop these calls absent an enforcement action by the Federal Communications Commission? Can they say stop?
No. I heard some on the hearings that they said that they tried to stop the voice over IP providers, and they said it was tough because I guess there's so many. But at the end of the day, the people who make those calls need The voice over IP, which is not AT&T, Verizon, are the smallest ones. They are actually looking for that type of business because it's lucrative. They can make easily $1 or $2 million a year just by charging a robocaller for those calls. People say it's a penny of the dollar, yes, but in such amounts, generally speaking, it's a lot of money for the carriers,
Right, so
and
you
they
make-
just look the other way because it's profitable for them.
So you can make a lot of money compromising the privacy of families all across America. And, you know, that was the intent of the law that I authored, and that's what the Federal Communications Commission is now enforcing. But here's what I would say, because I led a letter with 14 of my Senate colleagues today calling on Chairman Pai at the FCC to adopt key protections. One, a comprehensive definition of auto dialer, ensuring all callers must receive permission before robocalling or robotexting a consumer, and preserving consumers' right to revoke consent should they no longer wish to receive calls or text. I think that the Federal Communications Commission needs to take that action as soon as possible to stop the use of these technologies that harass consumers. Would those actions help to limit, Mr. Abramovich, the ability of companies to be able to harass individuals?
There was a problem because a few years ago, before they came back with the express consent, it's the common knowledge that the robocalls has been increasing over the years, right? What I heard, what is talking about the robocalls. But a few years ago, I remember that there was lead providers that would provide you with leads that actually people that wanted to receive those calls, they were associated with the business partners, and somehow some people could call them, and there was no need for other people to make millions and millions of calls. You could make thousands of calls with those leads without making millions. So that's what I think that is increasing now, because since the express consent law was passed, there's no more, that they basically killed the business provider. They went out of business. There were no more leads. Now what do robocallers do? They go and start dialing randomly.
Right.
Randomly. And that this is true. Most of the numbers are bad. They don't even connect. It's voicemails. Most of them goes to voicemails. Others are busy. Others just simply don't answer the phone. So the more laws, there's no way, like I said before, there's no way that the legal telemarketing can offer any product anymore. The traditional telemarketing that's been around for 50, 60, or 70 years.
Exactly. That's the point. People don't want to have the phone start ringing at 7 o'clock at night and go all night long. They have a right to not be called. They shouldn't have to hang up time after time, night after night. It is not a business model that's consistent with how American families want to have their lives lived in the evening. And so that's why we need these laws, and that's why we need the FCC to tighten up these definitions even more. I thank you, Mr. Chairman, very much.